Chapter 18. The miserable have no other medicine, but only hope. "Friar, I need your help." The visitor lowered her hood. "Juliet," I said, overjoyed to see her. The friar eased the knife from Troy's outstretched hand. "You won't need that, my son. She is a friend." Juliet's mask of desperation melted into a smile. "Mimi!" She rushed to me and squeezed the air out of me with an ecstatic hug. A hint of onion still lingered on her skin. "Tybalt returned this morning and said that you were still in Verona, cavorting with Montagues. Mother ordered Tybalt to find you and arrest you for disobeying the exile, and for stealing a dress." "I am so sorry. I fear this is all my doing." "It's not your doing," I assured her, trying not to focus on the fact that I was a fugitive. "Did they put up wanted posters in the 16th century? How are you? What happened after I left? Did your father beat you?" I was happy to see there was no sign of her mother's slaps. Except for dark circles beneath her eyes, her face looked as cute as ever. She shook her head. "He told me he would not mar my body since the wedding night was fast approaching. He was afraid that Paris would refuse me if I had whipping scars." That statement sickened me. Her body was a mere possession to be handed over to a new owner. "But he locked me in my room. No one but Nurse is allowed to see me until tomorrow. I told Nurse that I was taking to bed early. Then I climbed down the balcony and ran here to seek the friar's help." "My child," the friar said, "disobeying your father is a sin." "Is it not a sin to sell your daughter to the highest bidder?" Juliet asked, her voice desperate. "I overheard them. Father is almost bankrupt, and my marriage is his way out of debt. And Paris has promised Tybalt a titled position in the royal guard once we are married. I am to finance my family's future with my body and soul. Is that God's will, that I should marry a man I despise?" Friar Lawrence wrung his hands and frowned. "The fourth commandment is to honor thy father and mother. That is God's will." He scratched his overgrown ears. "Yet I have sat in the confessional with your future husband on many occasions. While I can't divulge the confessions themselves, I can say that they were of the most inappropriate nature. It is clear in my heart that the two of you are not a good match. But your parents—" "Forget them," Troy said, returning to the cot. "If you don't want to marry the guy, then don't marry him." "It's not that simple," Friar Lawrence explained. "If Juliet were to refuse a marriage that her parents had arranged, the Capulet name would suffer. Great shame would befall the family." "I do not wish to bring dishonor to my family," Juliet said. "And if Juliet refused the marriage," the friar added, "she would be breaking the law of Verona." "So?" Troy said. "So, my son, she would be imprisoned, perhaps even put to death." "Put to death?" Troy folded his arms. "That's the stupidest law I've ever heard of. What kind of people would put a girl to death? In my country, we barely even put murderers to death, and I'm talking about the scum of the earth serial killers who slaughter prostitutes and drug addicts. Most of them spend the rest of their lives in a comfortable cell with free healthcare and television. What place is this anyway where girls get put to death?" Juliet took a hesitant step towards Troy, looking at him the way a child looks at a new toy. "I've never heard a man speak in such a manner. Who are you?" "That's Troy," I said, stepping between them. The less Golden Boy said, the better. "He's from Manhattan, just like me. And yes, he's a Montague, but we don't have the whole feud thing in Manhattan." She stepped around me. "Do you really believe it's a stupid law?" "Of course." Juliet smiled, then sighed, then smiled again. Uh-oh, I knew that dazed expression. And Troy knew it too, because women bestowed it upon him constantly. "You're so nice," Juliet said, stepping closer. "Did you get that wound in Bacti? Does it hurt much? Are you an actor too?" She moved closer still. "Do you have any interest in marriage?" Troy raised an eyebrow and stepped away. "Mimi," he said with clenched teeth. The last thing anyone needed was for Juliet to fall in love with Troy Summer. Time to nip this in the bud. Time to get back on track. "Friar, you said it was God's will that we honor our parents, but isn't it God's will to help those in need?" I asked. "Haven't you taken a vow to do just that? And wouldn't it be a terrible sin to break that vow?" "Indeed, it would be." He placed his palms on his fat belly. "But how can I help? Isn't there a third option besides marriage or death? Couldn't she leave Verona?" "If she—" "Leave Verona?" Troy interrupted. "I thought we were going to end this story, Mimi. You want to get out of here, don't you?" He bumped into the wall, retreating from Juliet's amorous gaze. "Don't you?" "Troy, can I talk to you in the other room?" I asked. Troy eagerly slipped past Juliet and followed me to the friar's workshop. We stood beneath the hanging herbs, glaring at each other. "Of course I want to get out of here. There's a price on my head. But I promised Juliet that I would help her, and that's what I intend to do. She's such a nice girl, Troy. She's so young." Troy leaned on the table. I expected him to argue with me, to tell me that I was an imbecile, to tell me I should get a lobotomy or something. You may need a vacation from your life, Mimi, but I can't afford to take one. I have to shoot this DVD. My sales were way down last month, and if I don't keep moving forward, I'm going to become one of those pathetic, washed-up teen idols. I've got to get back. Oh, I mumbled, stunned by his confession. And don't forget the whole gangrene thing. He raked his fingers through his blonde hair, pushing it off his forehead. I don't pretend to understand any of this, but I know one thing for certain. We're the real people here. They're just characters. Don't forget that. I sighed. My mother was a real person, and she would be worried sick. Troy was a real person who needed to see a doctor, and I certainly needed to deal with my own problems. Maybe he was right. But maybe he was wrong. If these people aren't real, Troy, then how did one manage to do that to your leg? I think they're as real as we are. You're so pig-headed. His blue eyes turned stormy. You know the play as well as I do. Romeo and Juliet killed themselves. It's the way it has to be. Why? Why can't it be different? Because Shakespeare didn't write it different, he insisted, folding his arms. Juliet's destiny is already mapped out. But she didn't get to choose her destiny. Huh? Why does everyone else get to choose our destinies? That's what I want to know. Feelings began to bubble. Feelings I thought I could control, but they came fast, shooting to the surface like a geyser. I was going to blow. I clenched my fists. Why does everyone think they can tell us what to do? That they think they know what's best for us? I took a deep breath and wagged a finger at him. Just because Shakespeare created this world doesn't mean he gets to decide Juliet's fate. Yes it does, actually, he said sarcastically. Well, I say it doesn't. Rage took over. She has her own desires, and she doesn't have to die if someone gives her a chance to get away from this horrid life, away from that horrid mother, away from her name. Do you hear me? She needs to get away from her name. Have you ever had one of those light bulb moments? Just like in the cartoons, when you felt like you had actually reached up and flicked on the light switch, that you had achieved some sort of enlightenment? Rage can do that. Like an eruption, it can clear away all the clutter that we layered over our true feelings. We were in the same boat, Juliet and I, riding down the same tumultuous river with our parents at the helm. Our choice was to stay on board or capsize the whole thing. Juliet's destiny could be changed. I was going to stick to my promise because I knew to the core of my being that I had been sent to help this girl. Our fates were linked in some kind of cosmic, otherworldly way. I'm going to help Juliet find that happy ending, and I'm going to get us both home. Somehow, I'll do it. I didn't give him the chance to reply. I returned to the friar's room. He and Juliet were eating the last of the soup. Juliet, I said, it's true that only death can free you from the situation. She straightened her back and tried to look brave. I'm ready to face death. But she won't have to, will she, Friar? There's a way that death can be faked, isn't there? I waited for his reply. He knew what I was talking about because he stared at his soup bowl for a very long time. The friar helps Juliet fake her death in Juliet's play, but who knew what he'd do in this upside-down version? Juliet threw herself on the floor at his feet, clutching the hem of his brown robe. Please, Friar Lawrence, do you know of a way? He clutched his silver cross and nodded.